This is the Hot Stove with Dusty Baker.
It is the best time of the year. Baseball season is finally back, and it is now in full swing, meaning it is prediction season as well, and I'm about to give you my MLB predictions for this 2019 season right now. I'm going to start here at Globe Life Park in Arlington. The AL West, the Texas Rangers playing their final season here at Globe Life Park before crossing the street to Globe Life Field, a beautiful ballpark, but unfortunately it does not have a roof, and so therefore they are moving to a new ballpark in 2020. So, starting with their division, the AL West, I have in 5th place these very Texas Rangers. I'm not overly thrilled with what they did this offseason. I did like the signing of Asdrubal Cabrera, but that doesn't do enough at all to be able to move this team up anywhere from where they were last season. They finish in 5th place. 4th place, I got to go with the Seattle Mariners. I know that they made some interesting moves this offseason, but in my opinion, they didn't get much better, and in fact, I think they got a little bit worse, especially at the plate as well. So the Mariners are in 4th place in my projections. 3rd place, the best player in baseball is Mike Trout, and somehow, some way, he still cannot keep going back to the playoffs. His team, of course, is relying heavily on him, but you can't win with one player on your team. The Angels did not do enough this offseason. They did re-sign Trout for 12 years and $430 million, but that doesn't win you enough ball games. They finish in 3rd place. In 2nd place in that division are the Oakland Athletics. Of course, last year that's where they finished, and they got a wild card slot. I could see that happen again this year, but I'm not predicting that does happen. I do, however, think that they still finish in 2nd place. Love the lineup that they have, and the addition of Jurickson Profar definitely helps as well. And in 1st place are the Houston Astros. Of course, the team that won the World Series in 2017 and made it to the ALCS in 2018. I expect them to make a deep run this season. I'll get back to that more in a little bit. In the AL Central now, 1st place, of course, is going to be up for grabs. A lot of people have been talking about the Twins and the Indians. I'll get to that in a second. But starting in 5th place, I got to go with the Detroit Tigers. I'm not a huge fan of their pitching. I don't like any of their bullpen at all. I don't like Shane Green as a closer. And on top of that, their lineup is scattered. And Miguel Cabrera, who knows what his health is going to be like. My guess is they trade Castellanos at the deadline, and then they tank at the end of the year. They finish in 5th place. In 4th place, I have the Chicago White Sox, a team that I thought at this time would be a lot better, but was not a fan of their offseason. They didn't do enough, in my opinion, to get themselves over any sort of hump whatsoever. They finish in 4th place. In 3rd place, I'm a little intrigued by the Kansas City Royals. I know that they're not going to be overly productive this year and very well could finish in last place. Those bottom 3 slots could go interchangeably, honestly, at this point. But I do like the speed that they brought in, and I am definitely intrigued by some of their pieces, especially led by Whit Merrifield on that team. They finish in 3rd place. In 2nd place, this is where it gets interesting. The Cleveland Indians are my 2nd place team in the AL Central. I love that rotation. It's arguably the best in baseball, but that lineup outside of Lindor and Ramirez is arguably the worst in baseball next to the Orioles and the Marlins. They don't have enough pieces. Not a huge fan of the moves they made this offseason. They've lost a lot of pieces. Edwin Encarnacion moving to Seattle did not help them one bit. The return of getting Carlos Santana, not a great move in my opinion, and they really don't have a name outside of that as well. If you look at their outfield, good luck trying to figure out where those guys came from. Cleveland is in 2nd place and in 1st place. I love the Minnesota Twins this year, led by Jose Barrios on the hill, and a lineup that now consists of Nelson Cruz, Jonathan Scope. On top of that, C.J. Cron, a guy that can hit 30 home runs a year, and I expect a better year from Byron Buxton as well as Max Kepler. I think that this team legitimately can win 1st place. Do I think they could in any other division? Not at all, but in this particular division, the Twins are going to be in 1st place. Going to the AL East, a lot of debate about this one. We'll start with the easy answer here in 5th place. The Baltimore Orioles, I don't have to say a whole heck of a lot. That is the worst team in baseball. In 4th place, I have the Blue Jays. I do like the prospects they have, but of course, Vlad Guerrero Jr. is going to be called up a little bit later in the year, and by that point in time, you can expect the 3 teams ahead of them to be well ahead in early April. A lot of times they say that you can't win divisions in April. Well, you could definitely lose that, and that's what the Blue Jays are going to do come April, towards the end and early also of May. Then you go to the 3, and this is where it gets interesting. I still got to say the Tampa Bay Rays, but I love what that team has. I love the rotation now. The move for Charlie Morton was extremely underrated, and I think that they secure the 2nd wildcard slot because the 1st wildcard slot will go to the team that finishes in 2nd place in this division, and that is the New York Yankees. I think that you can't look past, obviously, the moves that they made this offseason in the bullpen. I love the Ottavino move, but they are still not better than the defending World Series champion Boston Red Sox, and they finish in first place, in my opinion. And so, looking at the playoff field for the AL, you have first place in the East, the Red Sox; in the Central, the Twins; on the West, the Astros. Wildcard slot 1 goes to the Yankees and 2 to the Rays. Let's go to the NL real quickly. First of all, going to the West, we start with the obvious. In 5th place, it's going to be between the D-backs and the Giants. It's a toss-up right there. I don't like what the D-backs did at all this offseason, I should say. And Paul Goldschmidt is out the door, as well as A.J. Pollock. They finish in last place, in my opinion. Then you have the Giants. This is the other toss-up right here. They finish in 4th place. I'm assuming they still do trade Madison Bumgarner, but they have enough pieces somehow to outlast the Diamondbacks and win somewhere around 65 to 67 games. Not totally impressive. Then, in 3rd place, you have one of the most intriguing teams in baseball in the San Diego Padres. I love what this organization has done. The prospects are incredible, and signing Manny Machado has just added a little oomph to that team. And so, having Machado and Tatis Jr. on the left side of the infield is going to be fun to watch all year long. I still don't think they get over the hump, of course, this year. They're still probably a year or two out from truly competing in the division, but I could see them finishing around 500 and in 3rd place. In 2nd place, I got to go with the Colorado Rockies. It's roughly the same look to the division as last year. This Rockies team is very good, but I just don't buy the bullpen and the ballpark as well. That definitely plays a factor. And on top of that, they have to deal with the defending National League champs the past 2 seasons. In the Los Angeles Dodgers, they will finish in 1st place. I know they've had quite a few injuries. Kershaw is up in the air, but guess what? When Kershaw goes out, guess who comes in? It is Walker Buehler, who is arguably a Cy Young candidate. The Dodgers will just be fine in 1st place here. The lineup is incredible. On opening day, they hit around 8 home runs, which is pretty ridiculous. And so the Dodgers should roll through this division. Expect the Rockies to compete, but I don't expect enough from them to make it past the Dodgers in 1st place. Then you go to the Central. This is a tough division to figure out. And so I'll start from the bottom and work my way up with the Pirates in 5th place. I like the Pirates. I think that they could be a 500 team. It's just unfortunate that they don't have the bats to match up with the rest of this division. In 4th place, I love the opposite with the Cincinnati Reds. I love the bats on this team. Losing Scooter Gennett definitely hurt for the first 8 to 12 weeks of this season, but of course the pitching is not what I like, and at the end of the day, this team is not going to produce like I had hoped they would when I saw some of the moves they made this offseason. In 3rd place, this is where it starts to get interesting. I'm going to go with last year's tie in 1st place here with the Chicago Cubs. I know a lot of people will probably raise their eyebrows to that, but here is my reasoning. I know that they're still a young team, but I don't think they have the depth that everybody is boasting they have, especially in the bullpen, and I'm not overly high on this rotation as well. As opposed to in the 2nd here, I got the Brewers snagging a wild card slot, as well as, of course, coming in 2nd place in this division. I like the rotation depth a little bit more. Love the bullpen and the lineup as well. They finish in 2nd for me. And then in 1st place here, I got to go with the St. Louis Cardinals, one of the best teams in baseball in terms of moves that they made this offseason. And you talk about Paul Goldschmidt coming to St. Louis. Well, what an impressive move that was. That's going to be a huge candidate for the MVP in the NL, and I think the Cardinals end up winning that division. Then we go to the East, the hardest division in baseball to figure out whatsoever, but the easiest slot is the 5th slot. We got to go with the Miami Marlins. I don't even want to talk about them. What they've done to this organization is a disaster, and I will leave it at that. In the 4th slot, this is also really tough. This 4th place team could be in 1st place, and I could be totally wrong. I could see it happen, but I'm going to stick with the New York Mets. I love what they have there. I love the moves that Brodie Van Wagenen made over the offseason, and I also love Pete Alonso as well. I think he's a Rookie of the Year candidate, but I just like the teams ahead of them a little bit more. Starting in 3rd place here with the Washington Nationals, a lot of 1st place picks for the Nationals. I've seen some that have them going to the World Series, and I wouldn't be shocked by that. I like the rotation a lot, but I think the loss of Harper is going to hurt more than people realize. Nationals in 3rd place. Then 2nd place, I got to go with the Atlanta Braves, the division champs of 2018. A young team. Ronald Acuna will have a full year. Albies will have a full year. And then that rotation is a young rotation. But I think they at least find one that breaks out early on here. It's going to be interesting, but Kyle Wright would be my guess to break out in 2019. And then in 1st place, I got to go with the Philadelphia Phillies. The acquisition of Bryce Harper is not the only reason why. I love the acquisition of JT Realmuto. And then on top of that, bringing in McCutchen, a seasoned veteran. And on top of that, also Gene Segura, one of the most underrated infielders in the league. This is a scary team. They're just going to have to take a little bit maybe to click together, but I think they finish in first place. And so when you look at the wild card slots here, I mentioned the Brewers getting one. They will be the #1 wild card slot. I also think that the Rockies actually do hold on and get a second wild card slot because the NL East will beat itself up. And so it goes like such. The Phillies in the East, in the Central, the Cardinals, in the West, the Dodgers, then you got the Brewers and the Rockies. And then we go to the playoffs here. This is how it's going to look. Starting in the wild card, I have the Yankees beating the Rays, and I have the Brewers at home also beating the Rockies. Moving on to the division series here for both, starting with the Red Sox taking on the Twins. I think they sweep the Twins pretty easily. I like the Twins, but not against the Red Sox, the defending champs. The Astros will beat the Yankees in 4 games. I like the Astros lineup better, and I'm a little bit queasy about that rotation for the Yankees. A lot of people like it. I don't buy it necessarily, and I like the Astros rotation a little bit better. Obviously, the bullpen is definitely favoring the Yankees, but at the end of the day, I think I like the Astros lineup better as well. Moving to the National League in the division series, I have the Dodgers taking down the Brewers. I think the Dodgers have the best record this season in the National League, and they will take down the Brewers once again in 4 games. For the Cardinals and the Phillies, that would be an intriguing series to say the least, and I think the Cardinals take down the Phillies in 5 games. Moving to the championship series now, that means we got 4 teams left. It's the Red Sox and the Astros, a repeat of last season, and this time I think the Astros get the best of the Red Sox in 7 games. Both very comparable teams, but I think it comes down to bullpen at the end of the day, and the Astros have a better one than the Red Sox, and the lineups are comparable, but I take the Astros in 7 games. On the flip side of the National League, it's the Cardinals and the Dodgers, and I got to go with St. Louis. I love what this team has. I think you got to watch out for a guy in the outfield named Tyler O'Neill as well as Harrison Bader. One or both of these players will break out significantly this season, and I think they will play an instrumental role in this team as well as Paul Goldschmidt, as I had mentioned prior. So we have a World Series of the Cardinals and the Astros after the Cardinals beat the Dodgers in 7 games. So who's going to win? It's a matchup of former division rivals in the NL Central. And guess what? The Astros were the ones that were obviously manipulated by the St. Louis Cardinals, and they're going to get their revenge here in 2019. The Astros will take down the St. Louis Cardinals in 2019 in 6 games, and Alex Bregman will be the World Series MVP. Baseball season is back, everybody. Get excited because the best time of the year is finally back. Good luck to your individual teams. It's going to be an exciting ride.